Miles Montego is a handsome and wealthy businessman, but is unfortunately saddled with a trafficking past. His continued friendship with his dealing friends makes it difficult for the police to believe that he has turned a new leaf. In fact, they are constantly on his trail to arrest him. He meets and falls in love with Vanessa, a church girl who tries to draw him closer to God. Their faith and relationship are tested by a series of misfortunes, until Miles has a one-on-one encounter with God, which changes his life for the better. The scene is in a maximum security prison where convicted prisoners on related offenses are held. The movie starts with a monologue from Miles. He wishes he knew what he knows now when he was younger. It would have saved him some of the mishaps he is facing, but he accepts his fate and considers it God's plan for his life. Miles and his 4 childhood friends discuss their finances. He is the acclaimed leader of the pack and he advises them to take their money games seriously. He bemoans that he is constantly attracting the attention of the IRS even though he takes care to conduct his business legally. He is a successful show promoter while his friends invest in his business. They contribute their part of the money to him and leave after making plans to meet later. He arrives at his parents' home and meets his mom watching her favorite resort ad. She is pleased to see him. He lies that he came over to file some paperwork, but he actually came over to stash his money in a secret safe he has in the house. His mother is anxious for some grandchildren from Miles, but he is clear and tells her that he is not ready to have any kids soon. She resumes her lecture as she encourages him to come to church with her and find a good girl suitable for marriage. Miles scoffs and reminds his mom that he never liked going to church. The music and service turned him off completely, and his only consolation for going to church during his childhood was the brunch that usually followed afterward. They laugh over it. His mom reminds him that he has a lot to be grateful to God for his blessings. Miles tries to make his mom happy. He gives her permission to connect him to any girl from church she feels will be a great fit with him. They share a hug and he takes his leave. She stares at him with a smile as she wonders what the slang he used means. The next scene is in the D Chief's office. He is with the 2 detectives working on Miles' case. They have a veiled interest in Miles' source of income, which they think is drugs. They are hell-bent on seeing him arrested and sent to prison. The chief is unhappy with the time and money that has been wasted on the Montego case. The detectives are envious of Miles' wealth. They try to compare him to themselves. They believe he still has ties with his drug-dealing friends, but trying to rope him in has proved to be a Herculean task. The chief threatens to shut the case down if they do not make any progress on the case soon. Miles is jamming to a rap song in his car at the stop sign when he spots a beautiful woman in a silver convertible on the other side of the road. He is instantly attracted to her as he finds it difficult to take his eyes off her. He decides to pursue her. He maneuvers his car in reverse, causing a screech and an outburst from another motorist. Miles drives off with speed in an attempt to catch up with her, but the police go after him and pull him over for overspeeding. Miles is disappointed when he notices that he has missed her. It's rowdy at the police station. The police in charge of Miles' case briefs the entire force on the activities of Miles and his friends. He refers to Miles as the highest trafficker in the state. They wage a war on him and his friends and set out to nab them. Miles and his friends have some shots after the successful promotion of yet another club. He is a kind and supportive friend as he agrees to help his best friend Martin out of a sticky situation, even though he maintains that it would be his last time helping him out as he does not want to be linked to their deals. His plans to spend time alone are cancelled when he is invited to a 4th of July weekend hangout by his friend Nick. He agrees and arrives at the hangout spot. They share a hug and tease themselves. Nick is surprised that he came solo. He reminds Miles to always have fun and do something other than work, so he does not end up lonely like most of the guys present at the hangout. He sets an example with his marriage, which was only revived through prayers. Miles is surprised at this revelation. They are called to eat. He is surprised when he finds the woman from the other day on the road among the other guests. He finds it difficult to keep his eyes shut during prayers, as he steals glances at her. Nick notices him staring at Vanessa, his wife's Bible study companion, and decides to introduce them to each other. They walk over to where the women are having a chat. Miles is introduced to all of them, but his interest is on Vanessa. He is intrigued with her, and when they shake hands, Vanessa has to remind him to let go of her hand. Miles and Vanessa go off to a corner to talk more. They talk about the churches they attend, but Miles is quick to inform her that he is in between churches as he never liked church growing up. She advises him to look for another church where he is comfortable. They have a swell time talking until nighttime, and they make plans to continue with their newfound friendship. The next day during their call, she invites him to church, but he takes a rain check. Vanessa is invited to his house. On arrival, she is stunned at its magnificence. The detectives working on Miles' case are stationed outside his house to keep tabs on him. They take pictures of them. Miles invites her in and shows her around his house. They are interrupted by his ringing phone, which has been bugged by the police outside. He takes the call and they conclude that he is speaking with one of his trafficking clients. At dinner, Vanessa is curious about his wealth and asks him about it. He informs her that he is involved in a couple of businesses, including running shows. He invites her to one of them and she agrees. They have a lovely time talking. At the end of their dinner, Miles walks Vanessa to her car. She is stunned when he tells her about the first time he saw her at the stop sign. It is a defining moment between them and they share a private moment. Vanessa has a shy smile on her face before she drives home. Miles visits Vanessa at the faith-based product store where she works to see her. She is giddy as she points him out to her girlfriends who confirm that he is handsome. They encourage her to go talk with him and she does. She walks him around the store, pointing out the different things they sell. Miles is surprised to find the CD of a rap gospel artiste. He tries hard to compare rap gospel to the Christian songs his mom played while he was growing up. Vanessa hooks him up with some Christian rap and promises him that he would enjoy them. Miles invites her to a birthday party later. She agrees and tells him to pick her up at her place and meet her family. Miles is nervous to meet them, but Vanessa promises him that they won't bite him. Vanessa stares at his retreating back with a smile on her face and stars in her eyes. Her friends surround her and they gush over how handsome he looks. Miles goes to pick Vanessa up. He rings the bell at her house and he is invited inside by her younger sister, who is disappointed that handsome Miles is for Vanessa. He also meets Vanessa's other sister and their parents. Vanessa's father, Miguel, is open-minded and welcomes Miles, but her mom is not impressed with him. She refuses to shake his hand and is further disappointed when he says he is in between churches. Miguel tries to douse his wife's disappointment. Vanessa ends the tension in the room when she drags Miles out of the door with a quick bye to her parents. At the venue, Miles introduces Vanessa to his 4 friends. She is impressed with the obvious love shared among the friends. There is an altercation between a bouncer and a customer at the entrance which leaves Vanessa frazzled, but she does not make a big deal out of it. The club is pumping with loud music. Miles and Vanessa are at a corner having fun. Miles introduces her as his girlfriend to a star player, and she gushes over him. She is excited that Miles is friends with stars. They sit together with the other guys and their girlfriends. Vanessa becomes uncomfortable when Martin starts talking about guns. Miles stops the conversation when he volunteers to go get some shots. Vanessa is alone with the girls. They are stunned when Vanessa tells them that she has not slept with Miles. The girls find it difficult to believe her. She is uncomfortable that they know Miles that way. Miles is mad at his friends for talking about his past in Vanessa's presence. He asks them to tone it down so he doesn't lose her. They are contrite and agree to it. On their way home, Vanessa hints at the eventful night they had. Miles apologizes to her about it. He admits he has a past which he is not proud of and fears that she would leave him when she hears of it. He is emotional as he speaks about it. This worries Vanessa and they decide to make a detour to a restaurant to talk. Vanessa's mom, Lydia, is wide awake as she waits for her daughter. She has a bad feeling about Miles and is worried about Vanessa being friends with him. She fails to listen to Miguel, who advises her to sleep and stop worrying about their daughter. Miles tries to find out Vanessa's perception of his friends at the club. She has a feeling that they are gangsters and dealers. He confirms her fears and tells her that he used to be their leader. Vanessa is shocked at this news. She doesn't believe her ears. She heaves out a breath, speechless at his admission. Miles assures her that he is a better man despite his past. Vanessa is concerned about his friends who are still part of his life. She feels that they might lure him into his old lifestyle, but Miles is adamant on not deserting them because he considers them family. Vanessa admits it is quite a shock to her, but she is thankful for his life. She promises to stay with him. It's an emotional moment between the two as they confess their love to each other and share a private moment. They are both relieved that the painful discussion is out of the way. Vanessa brings up the idea of bringing God into their relationship. Miles is quick to agree because he cares about her. Miles continues to progress in his shows and make more money with his friends. The police do not relent in trailing him. He travels with Vanessa to some of his shows and this leaves Lydia, her mom, sleepless at night. During their trip, Vanessa makes sure that they sleep apart. Miles is forced to do her wish. She gets jealous and picks a fight with Miles when they run into one of his ex-girlfriends on the streets. Miles is confused as he does not understand her anger. After one of his shows at the car park, Miles stops a shootout from happening between his friend Martin and a rival. He picks up his gun and tries to leave the car. Vanessa is shaken up at the scene, especially when she sees him with a gun. She fears he might get shot. She tries to stop him, but he does not listen. He instructs her to stay down while he goes to help Martin. He does not listen to Martin, who wants him to shoot his rivals. Vanessa barely holds herself together in the car. When they arrive at their hotel, they have a fight. Vanessa is still shaken up by what just happened. She finds it difficult to believe that he was willing to risk his life for his friend. Miles tries to calm her down. He explains that his friends are like his family and they have each other's back. He shows her his case, which is filled with cash from the show, which explains the need for a gun for protection. He promises to keep her, his family, friends, and himself safe. Vanessa calms down and leads them in a prayer. Vanessa and her family celebrate Miles' birthday and they get him a customized Bible as a gift. He is surprised at the gift. Lydia still does not approve of Miles' relationship with Vanessa. The air is filled with tension when she asks Miles if he is a godly man. Everyone looks at Miles with expectant faces, but Lydia feels justified when Miles says he is not sure if he is the godly man best for Vanessa. The detective working on Miles' case is hot on his and Vanessa's trails. He spends sleepless nights at the station working late to find evidence against him. The chief assures him that he would find something against him. Miles gives up on the Bible when he finds it difficult to understand it. He claims to be busy when Vanessa invites him to church, but at her insistence, he blurts out that God would not want him in church because of his past. Vanessa is relieved. She encourages him to go to church with her because God has no care for his pasts. He obliges and attends church with her. He is surprised when he sees a fashionable pastor drive a Lamborghini to church. Vanessa explains to him that the greeter in church is a volunteer. Her parents are pleased to see Miles in church. He is surprised that the fashionable man from earlier is a pastor. He becomes engrossed with the service even though he doesn't understand how church works, as he gives more than enough cash during offering. At the end of service, Vanessa introduces him to Pastor Galley. Miles admits to him that the service wasn't really what he expected. It was quite different from his mother's church. He still finds it hard to believe that he is a real pastor because of his sense of style. Pastor Galley sets him straight with the scriptures. He shares with him that style is not a sin before God. He tells him about his calling to become a pastor. Miles is intrigued with the conversation. Pastor Gary invites him to another church service. They have dinner with Miles' parents, and his mom finds it hard to contain her excitement. It's like a dream come true for her to hear that Miles now attends church. She is grateful to Vanessa for succeeding where she failed. Dinner is a pleasant affair as both couples have a wonderful time conversing and having fun. The detective gets a break in his investigation when he gets Martin on camera taking part in a deal. He is relieved to finally find a loophole which can be used to bring in Miles. Miles and Vanessa's relationship progresses. Vanessa brings up the topic of God and salvation. She is impressed with Miles when he shows her that he has been doing some reading and thinking on it. She is pleased that church is a fun experience for him. They celebrate Christmas with both families in church. Lydia slowly warms up to Miles. She is pleased to see him take church seriously. Miles' mom is excited when Miles and Vanessa gift them an all-expense-paid trip to her favorite getaway spot. Miles takes his new spiritual journey seriously. He ignores calls from his ex-girlfriends as he continues to study the Bible. He is annoyed with Vanessa's insistence on no relations before marriage, even when he quotes a line from the Bible supporting it. He is annoyed with her explanation and goes to cool off at the club with his friends. Martin notices his weird behavior, but Miles brushes it off. Martin comments on Miles' distance from their group since Vanessa came into his life. He tries to make Miles feel better and invites some girls to their table. One of them latches onto Miles. He is not interested, but she forces him to a more private place and tries to embrace him. Vanessa misses Miles at home. She goes in search of him and finds his car at the club. She is devastated when she finds him in another girl's arms. Hurt and disappointed at Miles, she runs out of the club to her car in tears as it starts raining. Miles sees her and chases after her. At home, Miles gets a call from his father that his mom is hospitalized. He is worried sick and rushes to the hospital. Mr. Caesar also calls Vanessa to inform her. She leaves her family midway during Bible study and rushes to the hospital to be with Miles. Miles is worried to find his mom looking pale and sick on the hospital bed. His father informs him that her condition is bad and that he has to remain strong for her. Vanessa comes to the hospital to console Miles. He tries to talk about the other day. He assures her that nothing happened with the girl at the club. He promises not to hurt her. She believes him and everything becomes perfect in their relationship. Miles' mom looks paler than usual. Vanessa comes to visit her and she asks her for a favor. She tells her to take care of Miles for her and to stay with him. She is aware of her impending demise. She tries to be happy and requests that they both have a big wedding and lots of babies. Miles doesn't want to hear about it. He only wants his mom to get better, but in her final moments, she advises him to continue to seek God's face. She dies peacefully surrounded by her family. The burial is a summer affair on a rainy day. The detectives are still on Miles' trail a little distance from the burial site. Detective Jason develops cold feet towards the case. He feels that Miles no longer has any connection to drugs, but his partner scoffs at his thoughts. Lydia approaches Miles sitting all alone with his head bowed. She condoles with him and offers him some encouragement. She apologizes for her earlier treatment towards him. Miles is appreciative and they share a hug. After the burial, Miles visits Vanessa's parents and asks them for their permission to marry their daughter. Lydia is hesitant, but Miguel is pleased to have him in their family. Miles assures her that he is ready. Miles decides to surprise Vanessa on her birthday. He flies her out on a private jet and proposes to her. It's an emotional moment for them. Vanessa tears up as she accepts his proposal, and they share a private moment together. Miles' friends are arrested by the police even though there was no incriminating evidence on them. They inform Miles of their arrest and he bails them out without asking questions. They are surprised that the police came heavily on them. Miles is stunned when his friends confirm that the police arrested them to get some dirt on him, but they assure him that they did not give out any information about him. Miles appreciates their gesture. He advises them to stay low until the case dies out. The police chief finds it difficult to believe that Miles' friends do not give him out. Detective Jason reiterates his claims that Miles might be clean, but the chief does not believe him. He simply wants any evidence to arrest Miles. Miles' faith in God continues to grow. He is at the pastor's office when another tragedy strikes. He gets a call that informs him that Vanessa has been involved in a fatal accident. He is distraught as he rushes to the hospital where he finds Vanessa's family already waiting. The doctor informs them that Vanessa is in a coma. They can only hope that she reacts positively to the procedures. Miles is triggered by the word hope. He flares up angry at God for allowing awful things to happen to those he loves. First his mother and now Vanessa. Vanessa's parents try to calm him down, but he storms out of the hospital. Miles goes to church. He is alone and ready to spill his heart to God. It's a soul-wrenching moment for him as he yells at God for trying to take Vanessa away from him. He tells him to take him in her stead and spare her life. He apologizes for his mistakes in the past. He is close to tears as he surrenders his life and asks God to tell him what to do to make things right. He returns home to a flock of police cars surrounding his house for his arrest. The investigators try to question him on his dealings with his friends. They are unsatisfied when he tells them that they only invest in his business. They try to pin his friend's business to him, but he does not budge. The police chief decides to give it a try. He taunts Miles with his current church activities, but Miles does not fall for them. Detective Jason insists on Miles' innocence, and he is later allowed to go home. He rushes to the hospital to see Vanessa, who's still in a coma. He prays and begs God to heal her. In return, he promises to do as God wants. Days pass with Vanessa in the same condition. Miles is by her side and constantly praying for her. It's a joyful moment for Miles and Vanessa's family as they surround her bed when she regains consciousness. The church is filled to the brim. Miles and Vanessa are present with their families, and the pastor talks about trials and the need for perseverance. The church thanks God for Vanessa's healing. The pastor calls for anyone willing to give their life to God, and it's time for Miles to fulfill the promise he made to God. Vanessa is surprised when Miles stands. He heads to the altar, followed by applause from the congregation and pride on Vanessa's face. He kneels before the pastor, who prays for him and presents him to the church. Miles sends letters to his friends who are serving terms in prison. He gives them updates on his life and plans for when they are released from prison. He is baptized and has proceeded to take theological classes to know more about God. He and Vanessa are married and are also expecting their first child. 3 years later, Miles Montego becomes a pastor, and his wife and daughter stare lovingly at him as he preaches to his congregation for the first time.